January and the contracts, or any contract updates, or rather lack thereof? Nothing really to say on the contracts more, is there? Nothing's moved.
No, Virgil van Dijk stopped in the mix zone over the weekend and said there's not really any progress being made. But I'm always kind of thinking, I'm quite relaxed about those sorts of things. I mean, there's no progress until there is progress. And once you kind of get the breakthrough, it just happens. So, don't worry about that too much. And I think, judging from my social media, you get so much kind of talk about it, chatter about it. But again, I still remain relaxed about this. I think at the end of the day, I can't see a world where Liverpool will be as foolish as to allow these 3 players to leave on free transfers. And if they are, they're going to get absolutely hammered for it, rightly so, by me as much as anybody else. But we're not there yet, and there's still time left. And Van Dijk and Salah, we can certainly say, given priority staying at Liverpool. I think Trent's maybe a little bit more undecided, but all 3 are in play at the moment, and the talks are ongoing. And I think until you get to that outcome, until there's any certainty of, that they're going to go, it's not going to happen. I just don't think it's too worth worrying too much about, because, as I say, it tends to happen very, very quickly. When it does, you get a breakthrough, someone collapses on one of their kind of key demands, and then all of a sudden the contract's signed and it's announced. So we'll just see how that goes. And I think it was a bit of a kind of a nothing update from Van Dijk, really. Yeah,
I mean, you do wonder what the hurdle is for Van Dijk, the main sticking point for the Van Dijk one, because from the outside, obviously, admittedly, we can't see all the complications, and I'm sure there are some that we don't know about, but from the outside, that seems like the most straightforward one to do. He's not going to demand ludicrous money for a player of the status we're talking about. He's not going to try and take the mick with his contract demands. You get that sense anyway from him as a person. And obviously Liverpool desperate to keep him. He seems desperate to stay. You wonder more than the other 2 what the sort of hold up of that is. But as you say, it could happen very quickly.
Yeah, you can't, the thing is that I don't want to defend the club too much over this one, because I think it's been not particularly well handled, even though there are a few mitigating circumstances. But ideally they wouldn't have got themselves into this situation, and it's up to them to get it sorted. And it won't be fair to the club if they don't get it sorted, because I think they will deserve to be judged on letting 3 players of that quality leave on free transfers. But when the players speak about this and they put things out on social media and they stop in the mix zones to discuss it, we don't really get an honest account from them either in terms of what's happening. We don't know kind of how outrageous their demands are in terms of contract length or the pay bump that they might want or whatever. So we're not really getting a kind of truthful reflection of what's going on. And I think it's worth remembering that. So the sticking point could be anything really. And it's not up to us to judge or to kind of, a lot of people, their preference would be to speculate that it's kind of the ownership of being stingy or whatever. Might not be that. We, like I say, we're not getting an honest kind of insight into this, and we never will from either side. Liverpool are saying nothing, and the players are saying very little in terms of actual kind of concrete truths about it. So, I don't think we should take it all with a kind of pinch of salt. I think in terms of what we're learning about this at the moment. So it's I just kind of prefer to let it play out, and hopefully we get some kind of actual news on this soon, because at the end of the day now we're getting quite close. It's we're nearly into February now. How much longer can this roll on for? And I think it will be a big boost as well just to get one over the line. So yeah, hopefully they can get there with that.
Yeah, I feel like we've been saying the same since October, isn't it? The sooner we can do this, the better it gets it solved, sets everyone's mind at ease. Not affecting their performances on the pitch though, which is a good thing. In terms of other January updates, again, it's been very, very quiet on that front, hasn't it? 1 week left, less than a week left now of the transfer window as we speak. Anything you can see happening?
No, not really. I've not been given the impression at any point there's any kind of desperation to get anything done, or the manager's kind of knocking on the door. Again, read social media and it will tell you that there's an absolute desperation from Arne Slot to get business done, and he's being denied that by FSG. I tell you now, categorically, that is not the case. That's just kind of a fiction basically made up by supporters who I totally understand maybe wanting some signings. For me, left back's a clear kind of possible weakness that could hurt Liverpool at some point, particularly in a Champions League game. I kind of worry about that being a weakness that shows up, but I've just not ever been given the impression that the manager is knocking on the door and saying he's desperate to sort that. He's got 2 internationals at left back he feels he can get through, and then that's something I expect to be addressed in the summer. So I don't think the manager is absolutely banging the door down asking for anything, and so I think Liverpool are happy to kind of go with what they've got, which, by the way, for me, and some people would disagree, it is the strongest squad in the Premier League. Possibly even, it's certainly one of the strongest squads in Europe. I don't think Liverpool are really desperate in any position outside that, maybe that left back issue. But again, the manager feels he can get through. So I think that's the right call, really. And, I think Liverpool have got things that he can do in the summer. But for now, they're happy to go with what they have. And I think that's still enough to get them some trophies.
Do you think that, I mean, speculating here, and obviously we hope this doesn't happen, but if, a key player was to get injured against PSV, for example, is there the scope? Is there the openness to maybe go in and get someone? Or do you still think Liverpool can cope with, if Van Dijk got injured, touch wood, he doesn't, of course, and was going to miss a couple of weeks or a couple of months, maybe, big player being lost. Can you see them maybe going into the market if a situation like that occurs?
It'd have to be for someone who they want in the long term, someone they were thinking they were going to sign in the summer. I don't think they would just do it to think, oh God, we're going to be without him for a couple of months or whatever. I think they would believe that they could absorb that with the options they have in the squad. And again, people might disagree, but it's kind of a weird one as well. People are saying, oh, well, what happens if there's an injury to Van Dijk, or what happens if there's an injury to Gravenberch, or what happens if there's an injury to Salah? And I agree, those three are effectively irreplaceable, but I can't think of a squad in world football that has a direct replacement for players of that level. You look at Rodri at Manchester City, and that's not their only issue, but I think if they'd have lost Rodri in any of the last 5 or 6 seasons, I think they would have missed out on a couple of titles to Liverpool and Arsenal. You have players in your squad who you just cannot replace if they go down, and that is a huge, but that's the gamble you have to take. You have key players who expect to play 50 games a season, and the guy who's behind them is not going to be of the level that they are. And like I say, every squad in world football takes that gamble. Arsenal have done it with Bukayo Saka because they know you can't have someone behind him who's